Hi Scorpio, here is a general look at your solar chart for November 2015, and may I wish you a happy birthday. But before I get to what's happening with your sign for this month, I just want to mention these two long-running transits, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, Pluto. Now, Uranus, Pluto, if you've been following the astrology, you'll know is very much in the background towards, kind of economic global meltdown, and basically it's very challenging the social structures, the status quo, the establishment, and shifting things which have been taken for granted socially, economically, culturally for hundreds and hundreds of years. And this is still going on, even though technically they've moved further apart. They're still pretty close. And as I've said more than once previously, it's not over till it's over. And we shouldn't be looking to think, okay, we can rest on our laurels now until we get into 2020s. Now for Saturn, Neptune. Well, Saturn, Neptune was hanging in the air a lot earlier this year, around about the time, and of course Neptune rules the seas, and it rules mysterious illnesses, things that can't be pinned down, So of the Ebola outbreak, also refugees traveling with children across very, very treacherous terrain to get to the safety, as they thought, of Western Europe, and being, a lot died on the way, plucked out of the seas, mostly the Mediterranean, and being tricked and cheated by those sharks, basically, who wanted their money and then just left them to die on boats and so on in the Mediterranean. Also had their way barred at Calais, trying to get through the tunnel to the UK, which they see as sort of the promised land in a way, which, everything's relative. So it probably is, it really, really is. We all have to have our promised land. We all have to have it, even if it's just our favorite sort of celebs on the TV. I mean, it's kind of just our promised land. It's potential of what can be. So it's called hope. It's called that star of hope. And now Saturn is the planet of physical boundaries, material structures. It's also about the status quo, the establishment, and Neptune is very, very ethereal. It's kind of without boundaries. And it's ideological, but it's also about victimization. It's about escape, among other things, and trying to do basically the highest manifestation maybe is compassionate, trying to do the best for the common good, for the whole of all, with all sort of personal desires and ego put on one side. So it's definitely the planet of higher service. Now, these sort of notions are far too sort of ambiguous and airy-fairy and head in the clouds for Saturn, who wants to apply a system to a situation. And it's sort of like top-down, it's kind of the government. So Saturn asks, okay, the how, and wants to deal with the nuts and bolts of the situation. And of course, here we are in this dimension of nuts and bolts, of dualism. So the Neptunian vibration of wholeness and union needs to be, we need to find practical ways to apply things so that it relieves suffering, and it makes sense out of the randomness and the chaos of things, which is more up Neptune Street. So and Neptune's about a heck of a lot else than that as well. But just for this example, Saturn rules authority figures, and also cares about appearances, cares about traditions and historical standards. But also on the flip side, Saturn is this very, very caring, responsible mother energy, which wants to protect and guard and guide and provide for others, okay, for those in her care. Now, these two planets are a very sort of an angle which makes a lot of friction. And so therefore it's kind of a pressure cooker energy, the same as Uranus Pluto, in fact. And that particular angle seems to be quite adept at manifesting, events in the world, situations in the world, which we in the world have to, on the one hand, take the lesson from as we're grappling with it and struggling with it and trying to figure it out, but also and then get the resolution to it. But also we have to maybe not just bemoan the fact that the thing is happening or the things are happening, whether it's in your private life, which you can probably find in your natal chart, how that might be triggering off each other, and then figure out how best to deal with it, so that you keep it harnessed, and then you can really get things more how you want them to be, or in the wider world. Okay, so we need to it's not about what happens, it's about how we respond to what happens. It's always about how we respond to what happens. So at the moment, Saturn is in Sagittarius, which is about long journeys, foreign cultures, different ideologies, different belief systems. Religion, of course, is a big one with Sagittarius, and the higher law. And Neptune is very much about higher laws as well, but even beyond the human realms. It's about total integration and wholeness and individuation and union. So we need to do the best we can with Saturn coming out of Sagittarius. There will be issues around other people's ideologies and belief systems, religions. There will be issues around maybe integration as well of those whose cultural background is very different to another cultural background, and this is all in the mix. It's all to do with coming into the age of Aquarius as our consciousness raises and we actually become aware of these things, whereas 100 years ago we wouldn't have been. We'd have just kind of, oh well, our consciousness wouldn't have let us, just sweep it under the carpet. We don't go there. We don't do that. Saturn is also about the shadow side of us, our psyches as well. So maybe a little bit more of the shadow side coming out here too. Things again which have been maybe taboo or kept from us because of course now we have the internet and the whole world is becoming a village. We're in a global village. So anyway, it seems to me that Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune at home very strongly coming out of its own sign Pisces brings in a new kind of confusion and uncertainty about how we help the needy without having the greedy pulling the wool over our eyes. And we could apply this thinking to different situations, like perhaps gun laws in certain parts of the world, and keeping tabs on, who's selling weapons to who, etc., behind the scenes. And I know that's only just the real tip of the iceberg, because it's grassroots stuff is about actually the changing of the hearts of many here. And really, I think, in fact, there is kind of coming in this split, as many saw in the run-up to 2012. There was this two-world split. And those of you who were aware of that, can you see how that's happening now? It's very interesting, isn't it? So how to execute the compassionate service required in an orderly, practical, structured fashion. It's quite a dilemma. So our task is to try and balance a higher vision and empathy and emotional intelligence. There's a lot of clever guys out there and gals. But let's have some emotional intelligence. Let's have some emotional common sense. And I don't mean emotional reactiveness. I mean a feeling common sense. And marry that up with realistic possibilities. Anyway, I'll get off the soapbox. So these two, Saturn, Neptune, have a look and see where they're transiting in your chart. I'll mention that to do with the sun sign charts. And you can even look at the house position, so see which house position they're in, and also maybe even the signs they ruled, which is Capricorn and Pisces. And it might be quite enlightening. Now, other news for you, Scorpio. This looks like it could be a very dynamic, forward-moving time for you. You've got the sun in your sign until the 23rd. There's Mercury there until the 21st, putting you very much in the stream of information exchange, meeting, greeting, mixing and mingling, maybe being the information giver or sourcing very useful bits of information, and being more aware of things like vehicles, communications equipment, travel, transport, etc., etc. And in general, the way should be clearer to improve things for yourself and, well, you and yours, and being a bit more self-centered as well. You've got a lot of power with the sun, which is the star around which our solar system circulates in your sign. So use the energy to your advantage. And then Mercury moves out of your sign and into a very materialistic area to do with finances, property, stuff, and so material security. And the Sun also moves into that area, giving a huge amount of emphasis, moves out of your sign into that area on the 23rd. So within 2 days of each other. So there's a lot of thinking and maybe paperwork and correspondence revolving around how to get organized with basic stuff, basic needs, food on the table, roof over the head, piggy bank maybe, if it's not, the food on the table stage. But it might be for some of you, of course, because we're all at different sort of stages on the path, aren't we? So thinking will revolve around essential goods, resources, but also what you can make of assets. With this very progressive energy, this forward-moving energy, this good energy, Saturn's now left your sign as well, but has also gone into this materialistic area here. You need to push harder, work harder. However, you've got Jupiter in a very, very friendly, positive, supportive angle to your sign, Scorpio, until next September. So I think you will feel more buoyant now, and things will start the speed of things will start picking up. Plans that may focus upon certain desirable resources, things that you really, cannot do without or don't want to have to do without. And you could be giving more thought to which way to achieve this or that or the other practical result there, to do with stuff, to do with material security, to do with money, to do with buying, selling, renting, leasing, that type of thing, and how you can make the most of your natural abilities as well, and how to prioritize, and what is the most important, what is really what you value the most. Now, and as I say, the Sun's in there as well. Central things very much centered around stuff. That's from the 23rd with the Sun. Now, Venus is warming group relations, meaning, that there's a collective maybe that feels supportive, that it's contacts can be useful, that they can have the information that you want, or they can be inspiring, or you are seen, by others in the group as being friendly and helpful. You making friends, maybe. It can be like that. Excuse me. But you can also find that you're making money out of people in the group as well. So a particular sort of organization or company or group. So there's, but that people could actually have useful resources to help you in some way. But also turn that around, it can be like a swapped sort of kind of thing. And then, and Mars is in there as well, of course. Mars is in the same area as Venus, really adding muscle there, and in this very future-orientated area, which where Venus and Mars have been since October. And you'll tend to be the initiator with projects, have a lot on your plate, maybe because of other people around you, either at work or in your personal life. And just feel that you've got to be on the ball, you've got to be maybe a bit more competitive, you've got to shine, more than the rest maybe, or maybe you just got to keep an eye on things, or maybe others just keep looking to you to give them a lead, whatever it is. It can be there might be more there to do with technology as well, paraphernalia that goes with the internet and all of that type of thing, possibly as well. And then Mars moves out of there and goes into the same area as Venus has moved into, which is very much behind the scenes area, an area where you are just maybe being those invisible hands behind the scenes, being the support there, being a little bit more selfless, putting ego and personal desires on one side, you being in a little private bubble with some couple, just a couple of cherry-picked others that you feel close to, or maybe it's not like that. Maybe you are yearning for that. Maybe you're yearning to be close to somebody, but you don't want to say your feelings. You can just get a lot done behind the scenes, or in a more supportive, service-orientated kind of a way, because others might be there to lean on you a little bit more. And then Saturn, as I say, has left your sign and is launching you into a 2 and a bit year cycle of more concentrated work related to the material, physical side of life. And you can be successful, but disciplined effort and a step-by-step approach, taking the long view, is required. And that will be to do with the piggy bank. That will be to do with all sorts of resources, property, possessions, roof over the head, food on the table. And gradually this side of things take the shape you want. And then you can start congratulating yourself, but that probably won't be until towards the end of the transit. It depends on the degree of your sun, but also maybe your rising sign and maybe other planets as well. So that's all in your natal chart. But in general, you Scorpios born the 26th to the 31st of October, with 3 to 8 degrees rising, are going to feel this energy the most this forecast period. And then until next September, Jupiter is in this really supportive, positive angle to your sun sign, bringing maybe good fortune your way through group activities, through not what you know, but who you know, helping you to grow and learn through new associations and friendships. Learning a lot. Jupiter is the learning through doing planet in a collective of others. So possibly new friends, new interests, because you get interested in a particular group that's got kindred spirits or certain things in common or a certain interest in common, and you're learning a lot in and through and because of that group. And even if you're feeling a little bit on your own for a while, which you could very well do with Mars and Venus both in that background area. Mars is in there for longer than Venus. Venus comes out of there in December, early on in December. Mars will stay in a little bit longer. So you might be, holding yourself away a little bit through whatever the reason for a while. However, in general, this is a very potentially fortunate position of Jupiter for you, Scorpio. And it will show you a new world that you can expand into over this quite long phase until next September. Equally, others could see you more as a supporter and enabler and guide or inspirer. You who are bringing the new knowledge, the new technology, the new whatever it is into their lives. So it's very interesting, but definitely you will maybe there will be a revelation or two along the way, because there could be something that comes through who you know, not what you know as much, but it could be both, that is quite inspiring for you. Scorpio and Scorpio rising from 15 to 21 degrees, or those born the 7th to the 13th of November will feel this energy the most this forecast period. That's it. If you want to check anything, it's written up on my website, DianaGarland.com, this text that I've just been relating to you here. And also, if you listen to your moon sign or your rising sign, you can get some more sort of angles on this to give a fuller picture. And I'll see you the next time.